Okay, the next thing, the new UI menus in ships and in stations. I love the new UI, specifically in stations with the outfitting and all of that. I think they are absolutely incredible. Again, side note, we were told we were going to get a stream with the UI team last Thursday. Didn't happen. Hopefully we'll get it this coming Thursday, because I think that I would love to see them talk a little bit about some of the ideas and concepts behind what they did. And I would love to hear them talk about maybe to what extent these new UIs are going to be pervasive across to the base game or into other functionalities, including fleet carriers, etc. There are things that we are not getting to see right now that, we kind of want to see what it looks like after the alpha. And then, okay, my last point, and this one, go with me on this because it gets it goes for a bit, but I think it's important to say. And this is with regard to the FPS play. Now, you all know me. I'm not a fan of FPS. Don't like it. It's not my thing. But I will say, while many have criticized the FPS in Odyssey by comparing it to Warzone or Call of Duty or other current FPS top-tier games and criticizing it for sort of being a step behind, that it definitely feels more like it fits in closer with games of a decade ago, like Counter-Strike, Mass Effect, Halo, PlanetSide 2. I would counter that those people that are making that criticism are sort of missing the point. Elite doesn't have to compete with the top tier FPS scale. Its goal is to provide a serviceable on-foot experience to a galaxy simulation game, in that its competition isn't going to be Counter-Strike and Warzone and Call of Duty. Its competition is going to be other galaxy simulation games. So you're talking about Star Citizen, you're talking about No Man's Sky, and to a lesser degree, other games like Dual Universe or whatever that are sort of coming up, and we'll see how they sort of pan out. But the main entrenched, established comparison is going to be to Star Citizen and No Man's Sky. Now, while Star Citizen provides ships interiors that Elite currently lacks, and No Man's Sky provides base building that Elite currently lacks, and they both provide a more interactable planet-side options such as mining, the fact remains that Star Citizen isn't a finished product. No Man's Sky has no flight model to speak of and is cartoony with regard to the graphics. Elite, on the other hand, with its top-notch flight model, its procedurally generated galaxy, and established and polished BGS game engine, Odyssey, I think, more than meets the expectation on the FPS side. I very much hope that the future iterations of download content will expand further on the non-combat on-foot planet-side play, offering more options such as mining, caves, expanded generation of points of interest to help fill out the depths and the expansive galaxy. Elite makes the grade when you look at it through that lens. Now, Daniel Radcliffe, no, not the kid who played Harry Potter. There's a programmer that works at Frontier on Elite Dangerous and worked on the combat mechanics named Daniel Radcliffe. He made a tweet and had a whole sort of conversation earlier in the week talking about how a lot of the sort of like mouse mechanics and how they do some of the targeting and whatever, that was inspired by sort of the Quake source engine, and that a lot of the feel and the design of certain combat mechanic choices were specifically like, it wasn't a situation of like, oh, this is old. They went for an aesthetic. They specifically went for it. So for me personally, let's face it, we're not the average Elite Dangerous player isn't your 12-year-old, Twitch gamer. We're sort of a different bunch. And as a result, I think that the choices that they made and how they went about approaching FPS mechanics, I think, are better suited to the core audience of Elite Dangerous. And that's just my supposition, but there you have it. Let's start with tweet.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Kai. I've been saying this from the very beginnings of what we knew about Odyssey, and that I never thought they were trying to steal Call of Duty's or Fortnite's crowd. Never. The FPS gameplay in Elite Dangerous is just an extension of this galaxy, of the story of Elite Dangerous. And it needs to be good enough to do that. And on top of that, I think it is good enough to do that from what I've seen on the streams. And I would add that from what I've seen with the on-the-ground CZs the last couple of days, they look much more in line with what the younger crowd is going to want to be doing and everything, too. I think that looks even better than the regular mission FPS looked like early.
Roy, I know you had a thought on this as well.
Yeah, so I know we're going to touch on this mission we ran last night in a couple different aspects, but I just wanted to. So basically, yesterday we were with a team checking out a scavenging site, and
several of them.
And I'll just say this.
Surprise, they're scavenging sites.
What surprised me was after we landed, did some stuff, which we'll talk about maybe in the next topic. But the point was, as we were finishing up on one of the sites, a vulture shows up and drops off like half a dozen enemy NPCs out of nowhere. And I happened to be on the ground. Kai was in Overwatch in a ship. I think Biotic was with us. Biotic Keen was with us on the ground as well. And all hell broke loose. And it was so much fun. Like suddenly we were surrounded. There was enough terrain that by sort of moving up and down through the moguls, we were able to get cover. Kai was sort of shooting stuff from the ship.
And control as well.
And the thing that really jumped out at me too is I was able to really do some good damage on the ground with the laser weapon. They didn't feel the ones we were fighting in that interaction. I know people have said in some other interactions, and maybe from phase 1 as well, that some of the enemies seemed a bit bullet spongy. But in that particular interaction, it was like everything came together and it was fun. I mean, I was shooting stuff. They went down after, I don't know, half a dozen shots. And I was able to even jump with the jetpack and take out some people while I was flying around, and it didn't feel like we were. It sort of rode that edge of, and there was some big explosions happening around us. It rode this edge of feeling dangerous without feeling like we were overwhelmed or something was terribly unbalanced. Which I was. That was a very different experience for me compared to, say, the phase 1 experience I'd had. And I came out of that and I was like, holy cow, like that was awesome. And it just all came together. And that for me is one of the, yes, we can look at a lot of different aspects and say this is good, this is bad, and so forth. But there was this sort of je ne sais quoi around that little interaction where it's like I came out of it and was like, I can't quite put my finger on this, but man, that was fun. That was fun. Like, well done.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. It was parts of it were very, very cool and very, very interesting. And other parts of it we'll talk about later. I can't enough focus on how big those things are. And for those of you who are about to hear the other list that's coming up here in a moment, just keep in mind all of the love that we just poured out on the things that were good, because we're not trying to take the Latvian approach. We're trying to take a balanced approach and provide constructive criticism that is not meant to be insulting or demeaning or in any way take away from the phenomenal work that Frontier has done on this product. It's merely meant to give our feedback on thoughts on what we would like changed a little bit.